Welcome to Retire in Johor, your go-to source for early retirement strategies with a special focus on maximizing your life here in Johor. We'll cover everything from hot property launches and essential Malaysian real estate insights to smart financial investment that will pave the way to freedom. In this episode, we are going to deep dive into this topic that has been creating quite a stir. Let us now shed some light into it and debunk the myth. And the topic in focus is the private lease scheme. Imagine buying your dream home only to find out that you don't actually own it. That's the shocking reality that some home buyers in Malaysia that was caught in this private lease scheme. Today, we are diving deep into the traps of PLS, revealing the key difference between the standard leasehold and what you must know to protect your investment. In this video, we will break down the pros and cons of PLS and give you the essential safeguard every home buyer needs. Okay, what is PLS or Private Lease Scheme? The PLS or Private Lease Scheme in Malaysia is a controversial arrangement where developers offer long-term leases on residential properties, structured to appear like traditional property purchases instead of granting full ownership, like a freehold or standard leasehold. This raises some concerns for home buyers, and recent developments surrounding PLS, as well as legal challenges, has prompted the authority to reconsider the scheme in areas like Medini, due to its inherent complexity and potential misrepresentation. Okay, now let's break down into some of the key points. What are the main themes and key ideas? Let's first start with the definition of PLS. PLS involves a developer granting a long-term lease, typically between 30 to 99 years, with a potential 30 years extension to home buyers through a sales and purchase agreement-like document rather than transferring outright ownership. In the Medini case, for example, Iskandar Investment Berhad or IIB actually owns the land and it leases it to a developer who then construct the property and then sell them to home buyers on a leasehold basis. The key characteristic is the use of non-statutory SPA forms. So in the PLS, a buyer does not own property and are instead buying a lease like a rental agreement for a certain period of time. So what are the disadvantages of PLS? Well, buyers were often unaware that they were entering into a long-term lease instead of a traditional property purchase, and this could actually lead to allegations of misrepresentations against the developer. My take on this is pretty simple. Even though you have all the rights to blame the developer for not disclosing this information to you, well, technically, it is also good to be prudent and exercise due diligence when entering into high-value contracts like purchasing a house. What do I mean by that? In this case, instead of solely relying on the developer's lawyers to inform you of what the contract is all about, perhaps you can consider hiring a legal consultant that can advise you what are the potential pitfalls of this contract. This way, you are much better represented and you won't end up in such a situation, such a sticky situation, where you are actually not the rightful property owner, but instead you are just someone who's leasing it. So what are the drawbacks of PLS or Private Lease Scheme? Well, it offers significantly less security and rights compared to standard leasehold property governed by the National Land Code, which typically includes options for renewal or extension. PLS agreements have no guarantee of lease renewal or extension at the end of the term. And due to some of this reason, PLS properties generally are expected to depreciate in value over the long term as the lease approaches expiry and the property must be surrendered. On that note, reselling of PLS property can be challenging as banks may be reluctant to provide full financing due to the diminishing lease term. Besides that, PLS also creates complication in strata management as there is technically only one proprietor, potentially leading to issues with joint management corporations or management corporations under the Strata Management Act. Technically, you are screwed because you are not the sole proprietor, but the developer is. So why do this scheme even exist? What is the rationale behind PLS? Let us look at the developer's or even the landowner's perspective. The original intention was reportedly to prevent foreigners from owning properties in perpetuity. PLS can address specific developers and landowners' needs, such as retaining reversionary interest or circumventing certain restrictions on foreign ownership. It can also be seen as a way to navigate or bypass certain regulatory constraints. I believe you guys are well aware for this private lease scheme for quite a lot of homeowners, especially sometime late last year. And a lot of potential investors have also inquired with me about this because they are quite afraid of this scheme and there is very little understanding of how it actually works. So I hope with this short video, I'm able to debunk some of the myth and also add some clarity to what PLS is all about. And of course, armed with such kind of information, I hope you as the potential home buyers can now make an informed decision. So what's the good news? Basically, from what I've read so far, because of all this controversy and legal entanglement, the landowner, in this case, the Iskandar Investment Berhad, is reportedly issuing offer letters to buyers in Medini with an option to convert the PLS properties to freehold at a premium. So what's the conclusion? And according to some research, banks are actually hesitant to finance PLS property, perceiving them as a higher risk compared to properties with leasehold or freehold status. Then again, some may say that it is like the leasehold title that you are more accustomed to, and you're going to return back the property to the government anyway, or the developer anyway. Well, in one case there may be some truth to it, but in another, think about it. If you are buying a property with a leasehold title, generally you are still the so-called title or the deed holder. But in case of this PLS, you are not even the title holder. You are just someone who is leasing the property from the developer. So there's a lot of legal implications that, or the legal rights that you are not entitled to as the so-called lessee, and also for, very much like you are renting a room. There's a lot of things that you can't do. And all these are actually subjected to the so-called landlord's approval. And in this case, for the PLS scheme, so for someone who is actually leasing the property from the developer, there's a lot of things that you can not actually do. First of all, because you are not the sole proprietor in this case, you have no rights to vote in a management council meeting or even the AGM. Therefore, whatever happens with the development, it is actually out of your reach. And another thing to note is that in the event that you want to even sell the property, because of the depreciating value due to the term nearing its expiry date, buyers or potential buyers is a little bit skeptical or even concerned that this property might have any value at all, therefore affecting your chances of selling or reselling this property. So in summary, as a future potential home buyers, my advice to you is to do your homework and do due diligence, especially when it comes to investing in high value items like property. Of course, if you can, engage a lawyer so that all the contracts, the SPA is being vetted through, and that a legal representative can actually advise you whether or not there is a potential pitfall that you might actually enter into. And with that kind of due diligence, you are able to address it before you actually enter into the contract, therefore saving yourself the headache later. I hope with this episode, you are able to better understand what this private lease scheme is all about and why it matters to you as a potential homeowners. And if you find that this video is helpful to you in your decision making when it comes to buying a property, especially in Malaysia or anywhere else in the world, do like and subscribe to our channel here at Retire in Johor.